For our agenda, I'll start out with a couple of brief introductions. Lou Feinstein of Dassault Systems and Louis Breeding will be presenting the webinar here today. I'll share insights about persistent systems and where we fit in. We'll then open up for the Q&A. Please type your questions in the chat box and I will moderate them at the end of the presentation. Next slide. Okay, here we go. Lou Feinstein in the middle has been with Dassault for 8 years, but in the trenches of high-tech and cutting-edge technologies for over 30 years in the field. He has an extensive background and is truly an expert of various industries. He's been the subject matter expert of various white papers and of many large events involving high-tech. He holds many certifications and even has several patents. Louis Breeding of Dassault. Louis Breeding has also been with Dassault for an extensive amount of time with 25 years of PLM systems and manufacturing processes. He's mapped out and led implementations of various systems and is truly a technical leader as well. He has also authored many white papers and is a presenter of many notable technical events. I'm the guy that just simply connects guys like these brilliant people that are going to be leading today to your challenges and your visions, and we map out the best-in-class technology solutions. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Lou and Louis, and we'll get started.
Thank you, Mike. So, who believed that just a few short months ago that this scenario could have really happened? I mean, it's the big world reboot of 2020. I mean, who could have even imagined that we'd be hit so hard? I mean, beyond the human tragedy of this, so many businesses on idle and stopped. We pushed the world's reset button, and who knows what this impact is going to be in the long run? Who can predict, like, when we're ever going to be back to whatever normal is supposed to be, and when this is going to happen? So let's take a look at before and after. So before, our landscape and the challenges, what did the high-tech industry customers experience? How did this crisis impact key challenges? What can we learn to accelerate recovery? And how do we turn these challenges into an opportunity, as well as increase resilience? And we're going to talk about how a 3D experience solution can help accelerate the recovery. So I'm going to turn it over to Lou Feinstein from Dassault.
Hello. So when you look at our landscape prior to the quote reboot, we really on the OEM side, we saw a lot of work taking place in consumer electronics, security and control systems, communications, and so forth. And then on the supplier side, a lot of technology suppliers. And this is really the landscape that we're looking at the lens through from a high-tech perspective before 2020. Also, as part of our landscape, when you really looked at the landscape, is like we talk about home automation, connecting everyday objects, consumer electronics, connected vehicles. It's a very large landscape of products and technology that was available to us. So when you looked at what are the challenges before? It's really the traditional, integrating mechanical, electronic, software, and managing all of the data, but traditionally in traditional methodologies where the teams were present and on site. So when you take a look, what are the challenges that we're continuing to see? And the traditional challenges we saw in the electrical engineering space were really putting walls in between silos, so that between different types of engineering, different types of physical design, and then enclosures and assemblies, there was always walls in between them. And those walls were there prior to the great reboot. And we'll take a look at what the what happened after the reboot. So what did high-tech companies really experience, like yourselves, is really the market slowed or stopped. But we did see in some segments higher market demand. So basically there's a lot of changes in dynamically of what's going on. And it was really driven by the technology changes and driven by the need to be remote workforce. Then we also saw a lot of unsold products. And then the biggest piece that we saw was massive disruptions in supply chain and logistics. And it was really not just in high tech, but everywhere. But high tech got hit extremely hard because a lot of the semiconductor and a lot of the technology that's used comes out of China, and they were the first ones to be hit. So what we saw is we saw the production disruptions or stopped. So a lot of available items that were normally available were all of a sudden not available. And this hit the industry about 4 weeks prior to the main, what we would call main reboot event. So what we ended up with product shortages, and as everybody knows, a lot of unsatisfied or unmet customer needs, and really we had a real change in the way people think about products, and there was a major disruption in the supply chains. And as a result of this, one of the major things that we've seen is design and innovation slowed or stopped. And it was because of the remote working environment and so forth. The thing that was interesting is people still have great ideas and still have the ability to work from home, but really it was chartering a new territory. Can R&D teams work remotely? And it was a big challenge in the beginning. And you'll see what we see for the landscape has changed, and really through the value of the 3D experience and then the ability to have a cloud solution. And it really was a game changer. So, what are customers doing right now to restore confidence? So a lot of the customers are understanding the situation in real time, and really have to anticipate worst case and assess the risks that are taking place. And these are ever changing and ever fluid today, as we starting to see, I would say, the reboot maybe 2.0 coming on shortly. So when we really talk about other things we saw is we're seeing companies exploring new business models, increased mobility in workforces, and the advent of the cloud was really allowed the enablement of flexible workforce. So this is the first time in history where working from home was the norm, and it changed a lot of things and a lot of pieces that taken place. So the other thing that we've seen is, organizations that were proven needed more autonomy and agility. And really what we've seen is the development of a lot of factory automation to protect the workforce. And it's not just in the space of high tech. We've seen this in the meat cutting industry. We've seen this in food processing and a lot of the high tech spaces where people are very close together in the working place. And the other thing that we've seen is a lot of more local supply chain sourcing. And it's really becoming a very interesting paradigm shift for companies. And the other thing that we've really seen a lot of taking place in our companies is the generalization of production lines to be more multi-purpose, and the use of adaptive or additive manufacturing and other types of processes where they could be employed. And the other thing that we've seen a very big resurgence on is the implementation of sustainable product production methodologies and product design. So you're designing for a longer life with a higher value. So let's take a look at the differences that we see in the different segments. So when we look at our landscape, the businesses are still there, reshuffled. Not all the segments are under pressure and are under scrutiny. There are some winners in some of the segments. The people that were doing remote learning equipment, people that were doing laptops, cell phones. And there's a whole lot of new challenges that have taken place, and some were seriously hit, but in the same time they've learned from that and really have become empowered. When you look at the design processes, the walls are still there, and we've seen So when it comes to electronic device fundamentals, the electronics, mechanical, and software engineering, the remote team organizations and operation are now crisis proof. And what we mean by that is by the use of the platform, and people understand now how to work together in remote fashion. A lot of companies did work in remote fashion, but we're seeing it is basically it's now become crisis proof, and we're starting to see a resurgence in customer, in design and spending and taking place. And then when we look at the gaps that were between the silos, as a matter of fact, organizations that weren't connected have actually grown, and we've seen a lot of increase. So companies that did not have successful remote working plans or plans that didn't really work well, what we saw is that the gaps have actually increased more with certain types of industries, specifically around the electronics. So when we talk about sorry. So when we talk about this, it's really we kind of map it out into two different ways. We really look at it the differences between regular products and what we call mass production OEMs. And when we look at the business drivers, really changed. And one of the things that we've seen is a lot of the companies that really want to understand and anticipate the industry and consumer trends really quick, almost in near real time, because companies that were able to adapt and to be more agile were very successful during this and really did not see a downturn and have actually seen an upside. The other piece that we've seen that was driven is that ultra short product development cycles have taken place because of supply chain disruptions and the need to keep things moving. We've seen really ultra short production cycles, which really changes the way you build things and do things. We've seen a huge amount of rapid evolving technology um, becoming more with huge amounts of complexity. And we've seen this in the medical space a lot. Medical equipment has gone unbelievably fast in this space. From you're looking at the COVID-19 test equipment, that was not even an industry. That testing equipment was put together so quickly and evolved so fast. And there's a lot of technology involved in it. And we're constantly seeing this now. So the evolution of technology is really taking place. And the other thing is a lot of companies now are really looking to be the first to deliver, because the first to deliver really gets gets a lion's share of the market, but also it provides them a unique advantage in moving faster and getting to market quicker. And so the last thing that we're seeing is we're seeing really high levels of innovation. And many customers are trying to move to how to do things differently and adapt to this changing world that we're in. And the reset actually has a very positive impact on high tech demand for products and such, because of the need for all of this telemedicine, remote education. You think about it, our world, the way we live today, there's a lot of debate about how kids are going to go back to school. That has an incredible social impact statement. How many people here, used video conferencing as a mainstream communicating to talk with their family? Very little. So our world has really changed, and the adoption of technology and high technology has really come to fruition.
I agree, Lou. I mean, the challenges are definitely going to be here to stay, right? All companies have to know, how are we going to stand out and, avoid being commoditized, right? And how do we see the future? How do these companies be leaders in this rapid technology change? And how are they going to manage the complexity of these high tech devices, right? They're very complex. And how do we master, that multi-discipline, multi-CAD, multi everything integration, right? And then on top of that, how are we going to be agile, and how are we going to interact with the supply chain? How can we do that in real time?
So when you really look at this, I hate to say it, life goes on, but with new perspectives. And the one thing that's been really a great advantage is having the cloud. If you go back a few years, we would not be in the situation we are in today. So really, when we're looking at the cloud, it brings a lot of things, not just the ability to remotely work anywhere, but you're taking people out of harm's way because they don't need to be inside the facilities to be working the system. So when you think about it, you have a total lower cost of ownership, increased scalability and reliability. And here are some of the numbers that we have. Our monthly availability is about 99.5%. We guarantee backups, within 1 per 24 hours, and the maximum downtime is only during is when we're doing upgrades, and it's really done in non-business hours. It's a maximum of 4 hours when we do a major changeover. So when you look at this thing here relative to what you do in traditional spaces, it's completely different. And this is really where we have a new perspective. So when we talk about business continuity in the cloud, there's really several things to talk about. And before, the very interesting thing is before, your team members felt at home in the office environment because the infrastructure was tuned for optimal efficiency to be in an office environment. So if you're using certain technologies and you went to the remote model, all of a sudden that home familiarity and the snappiness and the responsiveness of the systems that were designed to be in the home and to be in a business infrastructure really sometimes didn't play well. So as we looked at this, it was very, very important to understand latency and how people perceive it. And so now with the products like the 3D Experience platform and an interconnection, your teams feel more like being in the office, working remotely. That was really our goal, is to make sure that we have fluidity and ability to move back and forth and to have the flexibility to have that same peppiness, ability to work without the lag and so forth. And so what we're seeing is we're seeing really minimal impact to product design, engineering simulation, designing for manufacturing. Are really the process are really taking place the same way. You may be wearing your pajamas, you may be having a cup of juice, but at the same time, the way you do business and the way you did your engineering has not changed. You're still using the familiar tools, and you're not dealing with latency and so forth. The other piece that we brought is a single source of truth. So when you go to a platform approach, it's no one is keeping the data in their PC on a remote system. So by having this, it's really important that you have a single source of truth, and everybody's working currently on the exact same models. And the other thing that's taken place mysteriously that we, over time is everybody's done, design reviews and so forth. But the ability to do multidiscipline collaboration, design reviews and iterations, speeding up the design processes are really taking place the same way, but in a remote setting. It's absolutely astonishing of how how we've adapted to this technology, and having a platform such as a 3D Experience really has been a game changer for the industry, where you're seeing a lot of companies, tech companies, and all over the place are actually rethinking their business models because of the cost of infrastructure and so forth. We see this as an interesting side effect of this, of the unfortunate that we have of the events that have taken place. So the thing that you need to really think is the current solutions or implementation you have impacting the way your teams can work remotely. It seems to be the new norm, and a lot of companies are moving away from the traditional brick and mortar. Even the big tech companies are really thinking about going to a hybrid or even a distributed model to save on the infrastructure and to only have people into the offices when they really need to really maximize efficiencies. People seem to be more efficient working from their remote environments than ever before.
Thank you, Lou. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how the accelerated device solution, what are the values of it? Why do we use accelerated device, and why this solution at this time? Smart connected devices, they're getting very complex, as we had talked about. You've got your mechanical, your engineering, your electronics, your software people, and they all have to, progress in sync with each other. And they still have to keep that flexibility for the new initiatives, as well as, quick issue, fixing these issues as they come up and be able to reach that solution as fast as we can. the startups to the, small to medium businesses, right? They're all about organizing and optimizing, the product development process and to be able to improve. And we need to be able to organize the products. When it comes to things like project management or change management or simulation or BOM or supplier collaboration, we can go on and on. But the whole idea is we need to get to the market faster. And the accelerated device solution, it's been created for just such a kind of small or medium-sized company. It accelerates that new product introduction process for electronic devices, for the small to medium businesses to be able to bring more products to the market with the same resources, and as well as be able to accelerate the suppliers and the collaboration with them. And obviously, we still have to always think about protecting the IP. We need to be able to assure that the faster delivery happens quicker than your competitors do. And 3D experience, it's a truly, it's a new way of doing business. It allows for everything from the innovation stage, when you're in an ideation process, through the execution of those ideas, through the collaboration that's going to be necessary. You got to be able to interact with the suppliers and get to the products to the market faster. So ideally, you'd want to develop a roadmap for the products that your customer wants. And obviously they need to be in the right market, and we need to also make sure that it's unique. And when your products meet those goals, success is very much possible. You want to be somewhere in the nice middle, right? Your product is meeting all of those things. So the silos and the thinking of the past, they're killing the speed that's needed to get to the market fast. When you have multiple disciplines, and not only your mechanical CAD, but also in your electronics CAD and data and the data management, you're going to pay a price. You're going to pay a price of keeping everything synchronized is really what you want to do. But if you're not taking that platform approach, then your data is not centralized and it's not going to be up to date. And then you're going to be able to gain the speed by doing so and the visibility to make the decisions earlier in the process. And that's always the goal, make the best decisions earlier. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to Lou to talk about the accelerated device solution overview.
So when you talk about the accelerated device, it's an end-to-end solution, starting with ideation and ending in manufacturing, which stops away in sales and marketing, design engineering, and product and governance. And it's a very, very big solution, but it can be done as a customer needs or as a company grows. So to do this properly, what we're doing here is we're doing a series of webinars, which we will explain. And today we're really going to talk about product and governance, and the Dassault team and the team for persistence is going to be doing another set of webinars on design engineering, manufacturing, sales, sales and marketing, how we can affect this, and then another webinar on upstream thinking, new ways to think about how you conceive a product and how you bring it to engineering and bring it to the market using like social ideation and stuff. But today we're really going to talk about product governance. It's just really the core to the 3D Experience platform, and everything you see here works on the 3D Experience platform and on the cloud. So as I said, we'll talk about governance, but please come along to the next set of series of webinars that we're going to do, where we're going to be very focused in these different areas of expertise, so you can understand what the impact of a platform is on the total business. It's not just about an engineering, not just about PLM. It's a total transformation that can take place. And again, it really depends on what the customer's needs are, and what as a customer grows, what they need to support. So what we're going to take a look at is really accelerated our industry solutions. And the whole idea of these accelerated solutions, as Lewis has said, and that's really hard for me to say, is it's kind of like talking to a mirror. Is really it's really enabling process improvements in such a way where we're deliverable based project management. Think about having all of the project managers. As a project manager, you're always what we call corralling the cats and getting people in line. Well, with the 3D experience platform or platform approach, this stuff takes place automatically. So you can spend more time being a project manager than running around looking for, who's met this goal and that goal, because this stuff is really part of the operating system of the 3D experience. Designing smart products and engineering is complex. It's a systems and many systems approach, and being able to do that in a very systematic way that's actually driven by schedules and availability. So we have a component of project management and product management at the same time. When we think about it, the bill of material is really the lifeblood of a product. And do you really know what your as built is? Or in today's complex world, when we talk about bills of materials, they're not just stranded bills of materials of mechanical items, electrical items, or even systems pieces. A lot of companies now are dealing with software items as part of the bill of materials. How do you track all those things now? Because it's a compound world where we have hardware, software, and then and other layering pieces. We may have some infrastructure that you actually interface to also. Supplier collaboration. How do you accelerate supplier collaboration? How do you have insight into what the supplier capabilities are? And then how can you anticipate what the market demand is going to be, and can your manufacturing actually produce this? And there's a lot of insight technology that you can do when you go to this type of a platform approach. And then the last thing that we really talk about is, by the way, in manufacturing, we do a lot of work in what we call the digital twin. And people go, why do I want to digitize it? Well, it's really to understand how you're going to bring a product to the factory, not per se digitizing the factory, which we can do, but one of the things that we see a lot of advantage in accelerated device is to build your work instructions digitally and understand how things are going to go together. And most people are using offshore or remote manufacturing, and this really helps a lot when you want to do that interfacing. And the last thing is market asset preparation. To think about the ability of really being able to show people a product or showcase a product without having a product. So you use your ideation, you come up with a product through digitalization and different technologies of taking the CAD models, the ECAD models, or even behavioral models, and being able to create sales and marketing assets so that you can, the old measure twice, cut once, because a lot of companies have great ideas, but they sometimes when they bring them to market, there's no one there to buy. So the whole idea here is to be able to test the market ahead of time using, upstream thinking, and then really using sales and marketing to understand, are you designing the right product? Does it have the right features and such? So, when you're looking at it, the whole idea here is to be able to make the best choice when you're creating your products and to meet your business objectives. It's not about products, it's about the total ownership and the total capabilities of meeting your business objective while meeting your customers' demands. And as we talk about, customers are demanding experiences. They're no longer looking for point solutions. And you can see this in many industries. So when we talk about today, and we talk about product and governance, we're really going to talk about several areas. We'll talk about products and governance. We'll talk about project management and analytics. How do you improve operational cost and efficiency? There's a lot of things I spoke about a little bit, and then how do you release a bill of materials for a very complex, multidisciplined product with zero air bombs? And this is we can achieve by utilizing the technology in like the 3D experience platform.
Absolutely, Lou. I mean, I think this is definitely, the way to go. I mean, this is one collaboration environment for all of the disciplines that are working in it. Typically you've got your component designers, you've got your mechanical design engineers on one side. They have to talk and interface with the electronics engineers. Electronics engineers have to, talk to the software engineers. And then you got the whole other side of, change management and product release engineers, as well as manufacturing engineers. The platform is really the only way that we're going to be able to do real-time multi-site collaboration, be able to plan, validate, design everything in the correct context, use the multiple types of CADs and disciplinary pieces of data. And then it's all important, the digital continuity, to be able to take one piece and know exactly with the traceability and the governance of how that changed, why it changed, and be able to make one change that everybody else would be able to understand. And obviously, it's a platform, it's running on the cloud in this case that we're talking about today. You can access it from anywhere on any device. Just need a web browser. So I'll turn it back over to Lou.
Sure. One of the things that's very important about what we're talking about here is really to propagate methodologies and to streamline product execution. What do we mean by that? All of our UX and all of our interfaces are very familiar. They're very similar, no matter what discipline and what you're doing. So no matter if you're working on project standards, the product portfolio planning, resource planning, project execution, all of these tasks are all using the same type of interface, a very web intuitive interface, and very customizable. And it all sits on the platform. So when you think about time management, task management, so you're looking at how people are doing things transparently. You can look at how a project is progressing by the way milestones are being met, and also by the way the product design is coming along. As the products get checked in, as they meet different milestones, it's automatically brought up. Think about the ability to talk about financials. It's really the time to market, the design for cost, design for affordability, which is really key now after the reboot. And then we also can support phase gate management, so that make sure that all of your processes and products are actually on time and are meeting gate requirements. And the very key thing is that because we have a single source of truth with all of these inputs, no matter if you're project management or even looking at task requirements or whatever, with our analytics capability, you can very simply see where a snapshot at any given time where your project is, what milestones need to be met, what tasks are still open, and with very, very little interface with people chasing people for getting this information. It's really a new paradigm in business operations.
I agree, Lou. I mean, when you look at like the vast amount of things that you can do within the project management, it's not like running in silos on Microsoft Project or something like that. When you've got the data there all the time, you can use tools like collaborative tasks. They can organize, manage your work. There's never a question of like, what should I be working on next as a designer? Especially when these can be assigned and they can be tracked at the master project level. And then with them in place, it offers that true team-centric planning, which allows for a faster delivery from the original ideas. And when you combine that with continuous planning and execution, you can be assured that the delivery will be more than likely on time. And we're going to turn it back over to you, Lou, to talk to us some more.
So one of the key things that a lot of companies do and do not do is change management. And it's a very complex and very complex process that takes place. And a lot of companies do change management, but not officially. So one of the keys to the 3D experience is the ability to support this change management. What's really unique about it, it allows us to bring all of the organizations that are designing the product together into one change methodology. So no matter if you're in R&D, manufacturing, project engineering, marketing, everybody seems to be in the same everybody is in the same methodology. The key is to really clearly communicate changes and decisions that are taking place, because this way you can understand the impact to your organization. And there's a lot of tools in here that really allow us to drive consistent, repeatable change management practices. It's so complicated sometimes and so convoluted that companies don't do it, and it's because of the complexity of doing this. Can you advance the slide?
Sure.
Okay. The other piece that we're going to advance one more too, that we look at is obtaining full change impact in the scope of the analysis from impacted organizations. By using a platform approach with change management, it's not just going through a individual contributor who's going to check off and say, yeah, this has been approved and this isn't approved. You can really understand what the impact of a change is. Great example is a change, a very simple change. You found out that you changed a motor in a device and it runs on batteries. Very simple change. but you have a requirement that says that you need to have this much runtime on the batteries. Well, that little motor change actually changes the duration of how long the product can be. So it seems to be a very hidden change where you're changing a motor, but it changes the battery, which in turn changes maybe the mechanical size. So you can really look at the complete end-to-end changes, and today with today's software driven market, it also changes with this impact is to understand what the impact in the software world is. So the whole goal here is to achieve efficient and effective change management, so that basically when a change takes place, the organization understands what the changes are and can look at it from a more of a holistic view. So not just compartmentalized, because sometimes people make compartmental changes that change products in a big way. So So the other thing is when we talk about collaborative engineering, it's really about how do we execute this, and it's really understanding a single view of the product definitioning and the need for eliminating any structural or synchronization. You don't have to have structure in the system because the system understands the requirements, understands what you need to do. It really changes the way you do it because you're having a single holistic view. So you don't need to have electronics, your electronics engineering team, your mechanical, your software teams, your manufacturing teams. It's all synchronized. Now, so the other piece that's really interesting is when we talk about configured engineering definition with direct connection. So it allows you to really synchronize many different configurations of the product very quickly and easily based on one product. And it's really designed to allow a company to meet their business goals and optimize the product and processes by understanding and providing intelligence to meet the KPIs that customers have. It's a big mouthful, but it's really important. The real thing is that trying to release a product and making sure that everything is up to rev, everything is make the requirements is a daunting task for any person. But with a system like this, it makes it very simple to execute, no matter if it's hardware, software, or mechanical. It's all done on the same piece with a single bill of material, if that's what you're looking for, and it really allows for quick decision making and intuitive ways to provide engineering deliverables and change management. At the end of the day, we always call it the go release button, where you're releasing an entire product at one time very simply because you've met all of the requirements without having to go through laborious overview. So one of the things that we talk about in accelerated devices is that you see this solution, it sounds great. Well, it's actually a tried and true product that's been around for Dassault for a few years. And here are just some of the companies that use the technology. Guys from VZUG, which I'll talk a little bit about. A lot of different companies that you see. We have many other users that we can't use their logos that use accelerated device because it is a tried and true product that's been around for quite a few years. And we're just we're moving to more of a cloud solution and so forth. And I'm going to move to the next slide, which will really talk to you about some of the customer specifics. And now here, I don't know if you know VZUG, they're a very large high-end household appliance innovator. They make all sorts of interesting things, and they use this process really to reduce the management of their process and digital workflows. So what they're looking at is really being able to build their products quicker, faster to meet the customer's demands. And this is a very high-end company. They've been with the product since for about 7 to 8 years now. Great company. We do a lot of work with them. The next company I'm going to talk about real quickly is another company that does called Romeo Power, which does a lot of work in the EV market, and they've really adopted the 3D Experience platform and these accelerated device solutions really because they really wanted to come to market faster, quicker, and they also wanted the outreach to their supply base because basically they understand the need to be able to communicate almost in real time with their supply base and other people that they're using to build their products. And again, they've used this for quite a few years, and they're what we call an on-premise but cloud infrastructure because they have some proprietary stuff that they do. The next one we're going to talk about is one of my favorite companies. I've been there many times. Is Aldebaran Robots, or they're now called SoftBank Robots. And this is a SolidWorks customer, and they wanted to go beyond the traditional data management. And by doing this here, they're able to really streamline their production, take these robots to a whole nother level, and really start doing some really interesting technology in here. So what they were really looking for is to have a single source of truth. This particular robot has a lot of software-driven features. And again, it was designed in SolidWorks. The ECAD was designed in one of the ECAD solutions, and having the ability to have everything integrated into one platform has been a huge time saver and advancements for them. And as over the old processes in traditional data management, such as using EPDM, it's really the next gen. And that's been in production for quite a long time. And the last customer we're going to talk about is really about innovation. And so these guys design innovative products, and what they do is they use a lot of our innovation using the accelerated device to bring things quicker to market and to understand what the customers are looking for. They use the ideation and in industrial design, and very, very quickly, by leveraging the platform, they can really let the designers use their creativity and then understand what the customers are looking at, and looking and getting feedback on the customers of what the features they want and how to make cutting edge and innovative products. Really, really cool company, and they really use the 3D experience platform to really they call designing together. So they do it as a design community with either a partner or even using the external customers, meaning people that would actually purchase these type of products. So why would you want to use accelerated device? We talk a lot about it. Well, what we're seeing is, and we're going to take a segment here, and it's really OEM or ODM example of a consumer electronics company that have implemented it. You've seen a few examples here. One of the things that's interesting is they're able to bring more design iterations up front quicker. So most of them are seeing about 30% increase in the design iterations up front, so that they hit the target. They hit the target design very, very quickly and can understand and evolve the product before they start the heavy engineering. Really, really important. They've also seen huge efficiency gains in design engineering, because when you make a change, everybody in the platform is notified simultaneously of a change is made. And as the changes are making, if they impact you get a real-time or near real-time feedback in that. And it really, really increases productivity at the individual and the group levels we're seeing. And then early production delivery, and early production brings early revenue. And it's really been a lot of the efficiency gains of not having to chase people down, and to know where every stage of the process, where everything is. And then huge cost reductions we're seeing. And this is using what we call our highly flexible manufacturing module of accelerated device. And it's really reducing the number of design profiles. You do a digital twin, a virtual prototype of the product. And what is really helpful, if you're in that where you're doing tool and die molding, is you do it once. So you can look at the virtual products that are coming out, put them in a digital twin, and understand that the relationship between your ECAD, your MCAD, and your software at a prototype level. And it's really helped a lot. And then also, when you're creating assembly documentation that you're handing over to your supplier, or to even your internal processing for documentation of manufacturing, it really saves about 60% of the time. And what we're really looking at here is designing the product right the first time, and having manufacturing in the loop, because manufacturing from the very concept all the way through to the end, if you so desire, are part of the 3D experience platform. And this is kind of a typical what we see. And then, it's really, this is a high-tech industry solution. When we mean high-tech is everywhere. We're very pervasive. Everything from sunglasses to autonomous vehicles to toasters today are high-tech. And our goal here is to, as Louis has said, is to really to help you accelerate your design, streamline your processes, and to be the first to market. And we see lots of success in that. And with the high complexity of what we're seeing today, it's really when you mix the hardware, the electronics, and the software all together, it becomes very complex, and you need to have a system that can really tie it all together. And this is what we're really striving for in our solutions from the high tech on the high tech side. So again, what we're really pushing for is to really be able to anticipate our customers' expectations, and then move them to an experience. Today, most customers don't want point solutions; they want an experience. And the way this is really the best way to innovate and to create an experience for a customer.
Thank you, Lou. And now we're going to turn it back over to Michael.
All right, guys, thank you. Wow, lots of passion there. You can hear the passion in Lou's voice there involving high tech. Thank you both, Louis and Lou. I'll take it from here with just another quick 5 minutes or so, and then we'll move right to the Q&A. A few questions have already came in. Just a reminder, please continue to type out your questions, and I'll moderate them right before we close here. Persistent Systems is a global company. We've been in business for over 30 years. I'm here in the U.S., where we have several locations. Louis is also here. I'll give the short version of the about Persistent and how it relates to what we've discussed today. We have 3 areas of core focus: financial, medical, and industrial. For today's discussion, we're covering the industrial side with high tech. Since we do so much, I like to try and describe a picture of who we are. If you can imagine an area in a building or a house that might have a wall of tiles, if each tile represented your business's software systems and business systems, Persistent would be similar to the grout in between. We bring all those systems and software platforms together through technology and integration. We have over 10,000 employees worldwide. We're a powerhouse of developers. For the industrial segment alone, there are over 1,000 of us. Our industrial segments address 4 key areas that you see here. That covers PLM, ALM, lots of development, some Red Hat thrown in there, artificial intelligence, IoT, services for all, and a much more. Persistent is a technology solutions and service-focused company. We provide software solutions. In most cases, that leads our services. It just so happens some of our biggest customers also happen to be our biggest partners. We're here with Dassault today. Not only is Dassault one of our largest service customers, but we're also their partner. We sell and implement the Dassault software solutions. You can see the others as well. All of our alliances are important, and they connect. Thus my example of the grout. This is the Persistent digital mosaic that points to the industrial offerings, some of which we talked here today. The high-tech offerings span the entire system. Sometimes we'll help customers with only one area while growing into a trust. Our goals, however, are to help a customer a partnership with a business strategy. We want you to have a greater composability and speed to market. Reimagine your experience to maximize value at every touch point, and we do that by leveraging real-time data. We'll help you digitalize products, services, and business models that capitalize on your data for a broader ecosystem. We can help you establish a trust across the enterprise with your customers, your supply chain, and beyond by maximizing data security. Today you heard about Dassault's solution through 3D Experience platform and how the tools address the challenges of accelerated development. I'll wrap up here, and hopefully you can see that picture that I tried to describe with the tiles in the crowd earlier here. So moving right to the Q&A, that's going to finish our presentation for the most part. So we'll move to the questions. I'll try to get through them all. We're a little bit short on time here, so I'll go through them, and feel free to type some out if you have some more. If we don't get through them, we will email you back directly. So one of the questions that came in earlier is, what is the difference of the 3D Experience versus 3D Experience Works? Lou, I think that might be a good one for you to take if you're willing.
Well, the difference between the SolidWorks version of the 3D Experience, or the 3D Experience Works, and the 3D Experience Works is not anything different, but the 3D Experience is open to a larger ecosystem where we have multicad, and you'll see a lot more industry solutions. So, and basically, you'll also have the opportunity if you need to be on premise or what we call private hosted, where that it's still a cloud, but you need to have some customization or something take place because you have unique business requirements. The SolidWorks or the 3D Experience Works version is a cloud only, and it's really designed to be used out of the box with no modification. So if your company can fit that need, it's a great solution. If your company needs to go beyond MCAD and needs to go into more of the ECAD, MCAD, and software, that's where the 3D Experience. And it doesn't matter where you start your initial investment. You can go either direction with the solution, but either of them are based on the same exact technology of the 3D Experience platform.
All right, thank you, Lou. Another question came in, is the accelerated device a modular solution? Louis, you want to try to take that one?
It's way beyond a modular solution. So when you look at the Dassault ecosystem, we have many. We're really a technology-driven company, and we have 500 to 600 different pieces of what we call IP or technology. And IP, the accelerated device, is an accumulation going across the different brands that we have, including SolidWorks and Biovia and Simulia and Anovia and everything else, including Biovia. We cover all of the different brands, and we take the different technology solutions and we put them together to make a solution. So we take IP or technology, we put it together to build a solution. The real key here is that the 3D Experience is a platform, and everything interops smoothly between them, so we can move different pieces of IP together to build a solution. And really, you need just the baseline to start. You may just want to do some collaboration. You may want to do some social communities. We can start in the basics and work our way up as a company grows. We have some companies that they start in the manufacturing side and go in reverse. We have some companies that start at ideation and go different directions. And even within the different areas, we can tailor the technology, and it's not tailoring, it's out of the box solutions to meet your needs, to meet a customer's needs. It's a lot of flexibility, but the real key here, it's not translation, it's absolutely using a platform approach with interoperability. So no matter if you're looking at biology through our Biovia technology or using some advanced simulation technologies, computational fluid dynamics in Simulia, they all interact together and to work on the product. And again, we're also CAD, ECAD and MCAD and software agnostic. So basically, most companies have multiple layers of software. Some people may have SolidWorks and may have NX, or they may have requirements that they have to have. They design in SolidWorks and CATIA, but they have to deliver in like Windchill in PTC because of contractual obligations. Or most companies have multiple ECAD solutions. I'm being a little bit long here, but this is the power of the platform. And Dassault we have our own what we call authoring tools, but the real key here is that our authoring tools are ours, but we can also use what you've already invested in. So it's really scalable to what you're looking for. It can be using what you already have in your infrastructure. The idea here is to go to a digital transformation platform that allows you to interop and to take advantage of lots of automation and streamlined reporting and technology. And again, that's really the baseline of how this works.
All right, thank you, Lou. We'll try to get one more in here. One more question came in. Does the solution have to be cloud, and how complicated is it to implement and deploy? Louis Breeding, you want to try that?
For sure. It's does not have to be cloud. I mean, it could be offered on premise. Obviously, if you go to a public cloud solution like we were talking about today, it's much lower IT costs, right? Because you're basically your servers and data are all protected in a data center somewhere. If you're going to go with an on-premise solution, I mean, persistent, we do this all the time, right? We go and set that up. There's obviously a little bit higher cost, but this solution here is available either way. So however the customer wants to do it, like Lou was talking about, if it's piece by piece, just a little by little, we can help you get through that.
All right. Thank you, Louis. I'll try to get one more in here. We've got about 3 minutes, Lou, before we can close out here. So my current company does not have change management. Is change management required?
Change management isn't required to run the system because we have a lot of automated mechanisms that take place to alert you of changes. But we recommend change management because it really helps to really fine tune and to tune your ability to do it, to the ability to notify people of changes. And again, we do see some companies that don't use change management, and we recommend change management because it allows you to get into the granularity of changes so that everybody understands the impact of the changes. That is what it does bring. Do we have the traditional routing of stuff? Absolutely. Change management brings in just another level of detail that can be very handy and very important to understand the impact of change. Where a lot of people do studies and don't understand the ricochets, as we call them, of when you make a change. And the little story I told you is really the truth. When companies make some changes here, sometimes they don't recognize all of the changes that take place, and it usually lands up in manufacturing as a problem.
All right. Guys, I think that we're pretty much almost at our time here, so I'm going to go ahead and conclude the session for today. So thank you guys for the great questions. Thank you, Lou and Louis. Thanks again to all of you for attending the session of Accelerating Innovation in Today's New World. Thank you all, and goodbye now.
Thanks, Mike. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou.